starting from a personal quest to stay home with your daughter and evolving into a digital marketing strategist. Can you walk us through that journey and what key moments shaped your focus on copywriting as your superpower?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, at the time, my husband and I were both pastors together for the same organization, and we were also executive directors of a nonprofit doing over 80,000 services in our community every single
Wow.
year with a staff of three. So we were busy. Um, and then I had my daughter, and she came with me to do everything. I had, the little strapped on case with her, and she would, I'd be leading worship or preaching or out doing ministry of any kind, and she was with me. And then right after she turned one, the regional director of the area basically told my husband and I that we were failing because our church wasn't big enough. So even though we were doing a ton of services for the homeless and low income. And I mean, we're talking like housing programs and meal programs and gifts at Christmas. It still wasn't enough. So after that, they ended up demoting us and transferring us to a different location. And then they told me I had to put my daughter in childcare, and I just couldn't do it. I kind of collapsed my mental health. I was having panic attacks looking at daycares because she was only a little over one, and I was not ready to put her in daycare. And it was also something I didn't morally agree with. I was like, I didn't have a kid for someone else to raise her.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, my husband got really scared. He thought that I was suicidal, which I was not, but I had a brother that died of suicide. So he was
Oh,
very scared that I was going to take that same path. And so we met again with the leadership and said, can you help us? What can we do to support me really through this transition? And he just laughed at me. He laughed and he crossed his arms and he was like, what would you possibly do if you didn't work for us? And that was my line in the sand moment. I didn't have an answer right then. I had no clue about online marketing or anything like that. But in that moment, I was like, I will figure this out. I will not stay here and take that kind of abuse. So
wow. Abuse from the church. That's like not cool.
it was not cool at all. And at the time, I
No.
wouldn't have labeled it that. I just was like, I say it was my Incredible Hulk moment, where inside I was like, oh, I will show you. Like, I
But
will
that's
figure this
that's
out.
just such a sad story. I mean, just to not to dwell on it, but because obviously it was the precursor that got you going. But
Yeah.
so it's good in that way. I experienced something similar myself. Being unemployed is no fun, and that's why I built my company out of nothing because I was unemployable. But for you, I mean, like the church is supposed to be supportive of its people, and just because you weren't bringing in enough money, is that what it was?
No, we didn't have, our church wasn't big enough. So, like, people coming on Sunday, we were around, I don't know, between 40 and 60, depending on the Sunday. But we had been there 5 years, and it had gone up and down, fluctuated in that time. And again, we were doing all those
But what did they
services.
want you to bring in?
I don't know. They wanted us to grow the church bigger than that.
Well, I mean,
And
that's pretty good. 40 to 60. I mean, like, what kind of church was it?
it's with the Salvation Army. Are you familiar with the denomination?
I'm not familiar with Salvation Army denomination.
Yeah. So do you know the red kettles or thrift stores or anything like that with the
Oh yeah,
Salvation
I
Army?
know Salvation Army. I have donated many things to Salvation Army over the years. So I know I've never been in a store, but I've donated a lot to it.
Yeah. So it's all the same organization. It started initially as a church in London in 1865 because William Booth was doing ministry in pubs, and he was converting all the alcoholics to Christianity. And then they would go to the churches, and they didn't have, they required a dime to reserve a pew in the Methodist church at the time. And he was a Methodist pastor, but they didn't have dimes for their pew, and they stunk like alcohol. and a lot of them were out of work. So they came back to him and they said, they kicked us out of the church. What do we do? How do we get to know Jesus, this guy you're talking about? So he just started his own church. It's kind of how he fell into it. The first tent meeting was actually in a cemetery in London's East End. And now it's in over 144 countries around the world and has a very strong social service arm, which is what most people know. Most people know the thrift stores, which fund our adult rehabilitation centers for drug and alcohol rehabilitation, which has like the highest success rate in the country, like 4 times as much as any other program. And then the red kettles at Christmas, which are also many people are familiar. They've been in a lot of movies. And then if you watch the football game on Thanksgiving, the Jerry Jones is a huge donor and fan of the Salvation Army. So there's always that big red kettle that the football players jump in and then they get fined, but they donate that to the Salvation Army.
Oh, that's
So
great. And
yeah.
it's funny you say that for many reasons. I mean, like, because the Salvation Army has been kind of part of my life. As I said, I mean, if I'm going to donate something, that's where I take it. You know, I take it to Salvation Army. And
It's a
that
great
is an
organization.
operation. I mean, that is an
Mm.
operation. I mean, like they got like it is a big thing. I mean, like you pull up in the back and the guys come out and unload all your stuff out of your car and then put it in different bins and whatever they do. Forklifts are moving around and moving big
Yeah.
boxes and whatnot. And then there's a store right in the front for people to go shopping, for the stuff. So I think it's great. I didn't know that it was. Honestly didn't know that it was a church.
Yeah, most people don't. I couldn't tell you the thousands of people I've talked to over the years that are like, wait, what? That's a church? I had no idea. And it started as a church. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with Volunteers of America. That
Oh
is
no.
like the black sheep organization that came out of one of William Booth's kids. He had 8 kids, and one of them started a splinter organization because he thought William Booth was straying too far from being solely a church with all of the social services. And now, of course, Volunteers of America has zero church affiliation and they're completely social
That's funny.
services.
Right.
So, yeah, funny history, but and it certainly, the organization
How
does
did
a
you
lot
get
of good.
involved in that? Like as a pastor, you and your husband, how did you choose that?
They have their own seminary, so it's a 2-year school. And he was in it before I was. I met him when I was going into the school. And I discovered them because I grew up really close, like 10 minutes from a camp. They do summer camps, and there's a lot of camps all over the country for low income kids. So, like when we were sending kids to camp, we charged parents like $25 for 5 days, where the kids get to go and learn about God. They learn about nature. They get to take classes. And I mean, just a typical summer kids camp, which lots of low income kids wouldn't otherwise be able to afford something like that.
I
So
didn't even know about
that is
that. I
also
didn't know there
run
was a
on
camp.
donations.
That's
Hmm?
great. I didn't know there was a camp either.
Yeah, there's camps. So it's divided by division. So there isn't a camp in every single state, but there's a camp always within at least like 2 to 3 states. And then like California has several camps. I think they have 3 or 4 because it's so big. But yeah, there's probably one near you in Virginia or
There probably
Georgia.
is. I'm gonna have to investigate this. This is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I know there's one. My husband went to one in South Carolina. That might be the closest. I'd have to look at what the East Coast camps are, but yeah, and then you could also find what the closest church is, just out of curiosity.
Well, Don, this is fat. I mean, like we're so completely off topic, but I think that that's just fascinating to me. I hope it is to people listening, about the
We could tie it into
Salvation Army,
marketing.
right? You're marketing Salvation Army here. The
We used to
people that
sell
sacked you,
Jesus.
right? But hey, so that is the propellant that
Mhm.
sent you into doing your own thing.
I did. I
So
Googled work from home. because I wanted to figure out how to stay home with my kid. And that led me to digital marketing, which led me to affiliate marketing, which led me to I learned how to build funnels and run Facebook ads. And then like a year later, I had learned some copywriting in that time, and my funnels converted really well. And everybody was always asking for my help for ads and landing page copy. And then somebody was
Were
like,
you writing before? Were you writing? Have you been a writer?
mm, when I was turning 10, I asked for a desk for my birthday because I wanted to write my stories, which is very nerdy of me,
Oh,
but
that's
I
so
loved
cute.
writing stories.
Oh, so you've always been a writer.
I've always been a writer. And then, of course, I was preaching. So I was writing a sermon. My husband and I took turns. So every other week, I was writing a sermon and then writing Bible studies and things like that. So I've always loved writing. I know it sounds crazy, but in college, I really did love the papers. I'd write a paper over take a test any day because I just enjoy it. So yes, I did have a love of writing, and then but you grow up with this concept of like authors are poor, right? There's no money. You either do journalism or you become a book author, and most kind of the general idea is, oh, there isn't money in that. But then when I discovered copywriting, I was on a Zoom call and I was like, wait a second, do you mean to tell me that I can get paid just to write for people? And the gal was like, yeah. And like I said, I already knew
That's
funnel
great.
building and ads. So that was really great because people would hire me as a copywriter and then they'd be like, wait a second, you can also build my funnel? I'm like, yes, I can. I learned, I don't know, about a dozen different platforms, all the big ones like Kajabi, ClickFunnels. And then if somebody came to me and they're like, oh, well, I'm in Kartra, I'd be like, oh, I'll learn it. That's fine. I'll do it. So I learned a lot, even though my husband still teases me to this day because I can't operate the TV. But I can build funnels and make money online, and that's far more important to me than watching TV. So I'll take it.
Yes. And so, how long have you been doing it?
Uh, September 6th, 2019 is when I was like, I'm going to be a copywriter.
Okay.
That's when I officially became a copywriter, but I'd been doing the funnel and affiliate marketing for about a year before that, trying to
Okay. So it
learn
was like
every
right in the
single
pandemic era, right?
just before, yeah. Yeah, I had some clients really freaking out right when the pandemic hit and like canceled all their Facebook ads and had to, revamp my services and stuff like that. But yeah, I was already well on my way at that point with my knowledge and my clients to be okay, which was perfect because then the world had to go digital.
Yeah. Well, Don, I think God is on your side, so that's what's going on here. I think
Oh,
that
I know
he's
he is.
he's helping you out. So what does your husband do now?
Now he is working at my daughter's private school, which is one of the top in the country and something that I never would have been able to do when we were still pastors. What we made, well, combined, our income was about 2,600 a month. So with us working full time, which there's no way we could pay for private school that way. So she
Right,
goes to a
right.
private school. He works there just part time, mainly for community. I did retire him and I wrote a book about it called "I Retired Him" for 3 years, and I saw though the effect of that on his mental health of just being home and sitting around. And I was like, okay, it's time to have you get out again and yeah, be in community. And it's a really lovely. The staff there is great, and yeah, he has some
Oh,
nice
that's
connections
good.
there. Gets him out of the house and doing something. I think men need purpose. It's so funny, In I was in a lot of female only masterminds, and that was something we talked about all the time, like, oh, retire your husband, retire your husband. I'm like, mm. Now that I'm on the other side of it, there's a lot of people where they used to say that, and now they're like, oh, now I don't say that anymore because men need purpose. You
Yeah,
cannot
we need
just,
purpose. We need to be providing, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We need a purpose. Can't just be
yeah.
sitting
So
around.
we're still figuring it out. He's an amazing preacher. So I'm
Well,
going to go
hopefully he'll
focus
get
on
back to that, and he'll find his thing like you found yours. Hopefully he'll find that. How old's your daughter now?
She is almost 10. We actually had a
Wow.
birthday party for her today, and then next weekend she'll turn 10.
Oh, okay. Well, happy birthday. What's her
Thank you.
name?
Her name is Reagan.
Reagan. Oh, that's a cool name. Happy birthday to Reagan.
She's my little
Okay,
weekday baby.
so that was great answer to my first question. I mean, wow, we went off. That was the whole half an hour, but we still got we still got work to do here. So we got some more stuff. Okay, so on your site you mentioned the 5 neurochemicals that trigger buying behavior. Could you reveal that those what those 5 are and explain how they influence a customer's decision-making process?
Yep, absolutely. So the five, the way I remember it is C dose. So C is cortisol, and then dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And so as we go through them, so cortisol is the attention. That's stress. Most of us think of cortisol, it's the stress hormone. So that's the pain, the agitation. A lot of times in marketing, we look at it as pain, problem, agitation. That's the idea of cortisol that you kind of spike. You have to wake people up, right? Or we say stop the scroll by naming their pain. And then the dopamine is the happy chemical. The happy hormone is how we refer to it. So that's like giving them hope. In copywriting, we call that aspiration. So, what is it that is their desire and making it believable enough that they can get there? And then oxytocin is like a trust where we want to establish trust and authority, and and then that's very closely related to serotonin, which is also that trust but empathy along with it. So that's like sharing your story, being relatable, being a human, and triggering like, okay, you're safe here because I understand what you're doing or like what you're going through. I've been there. And then you end with endorphins, which is relief. So it's like that sigh of like, okay, if I do this, it's going to get better. And so you've got all five. And when you look at direct response copy, like over the last 100 years from some of the greats, even when you look at Jesus's parables, they all follow the same 5 chemicals and in the same order. I was just last week diving into a bunch of sections of scripture, and I was like, this is crazy, because he
That is
follows the same exact
crazy.
order.
That is so cool that you did that and that you have used the neurochemicals um, to describe the way to write copy, the order, and that is. Do you know Donald Miller's story brand? That follows that exactly.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's we've just given it different names, right? Like if you are
Right,
familiar with Ray Edwards, he has the pastor formula. It's basically the same thing.
but it is the
Um,
same thing. But it's cool how you have connected it to the neurochemicals.
yep. It's actually Clive. I don't know if you've been able to connect with Clive Cable in Titans as well. He's the one that first sort of discovered it, and he wrote a book on it, and then I learned from him, and then took it deeper because I my passion is getting back to the Christian world and being able to. I've been working on some offers just for Christians of combining neuroscience and faith, and so that's why I took what he did and applied it to not only copywriting and custom GPTs specifically, because I do that a lot now, but now I'm really looking at the Christian side of it and okay, like Jesus taught this way, and how do we then connect to deepen our faith and experience more miracles. So I've
I
kind of been
agree
doing it.
with you. I love it. I love that you're doing this.
Thank
And
you.
um, okay, how do you strategically incorporate these neurochemicals into your copywriting to spark them at the right time and in the right order? Any practical examples or tips for our listeners? I think you already answered that, didn't you? You just kind of
Yeah, and
did.
what I'd say for listeners is use AI at this point as a tool to tell you. So I mean, I've programmed custom GPTs like at a very high level for these where it like measures the percentage and it does it based on, each person needs like each ideal client avatar is a different ratio of those chemicals. Not everybody is exactly the same. So you could get super nerdy, but at a very basic level, use AI to like whatever you write, whether it's a sales page or an email, you can plug it into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you tell me where the five chemicals are being triggered and in what order? And it should know enough at a very basic level. Again, like we could get super nerdy, like what Clive and I have done and what I do with clients when I work one on one with them. But at a very basic level, anyone could do that and at least see. Because I think the biggest thing there's two things. Number one, you want to hit all five. And a lot of times, surprisingly, I thought cortisol is missed. To me, a lot of the bro marketing I feel like is like heavy, heavy cortisol. But in most of the copy, when I work with clients, that's the one that's missing or it's very, very low. And then the other biggest problem I see is that they're not in the right order and it has to be in the C dose order. So that's the other problem.
Interesting.
Yep. So those two
It has
things,
to be in
and
the order.
it has to be in that order because imagine like if you did cortisol at the end, you're spiking the stress. And so they're not going to make a decision because you're spiking too much stress. Whereas, in copywriting, we talk a lot about like urgency and, only have 10 spots available or only have, a deadline. And yes, we have those things, but you don't want to end like the very last sentence or the final call to action. You don't want it to be a high stress trigger. You want it to release the endorphins so that they know that they're safe and there's relief of like, okay, I'm going to get relief from my problem when I do this. And so that's a big mistake is not having them or doing like establishing authority before you have trust or, yeah. So doing them in the wrong order is the other big problem. So either missing one or not having them in the correct order.
Wow. That's, and I've been doing this 30 years. And, I'm like, I constantly learn and forget and relearn,
Me
right?
too.
I'm
Yep. And you're
like,
like, oh, I knew that.
I knew this stuff. And I'm like, I don't think I'm doing it right again. You know, I think I fix it, then break it, fix it, and break it, right? I think that's what most people do. So it's good that you're there to get them back on the right path. So you've achieved impressive results, like hundreds of happy clients and sales closing within 24 hours. Can you share a specific client success story where your words made a massive impact, perhaps transforming their business or reaching millions?
Yeah. Oh, I have a lot of examples. I do have a couple of clients that have gotten two Comma Club awards. The biggest turnaround I think I saw was one of my clients. She was one of my very first clients too. She had had a company build a funnel for her for, I think she paid like $27,000. And this was in 2019. So that was a lot of money for a funnel back then. Um, and they had been running ads for 9 months and she was getting not even a sale a week for like a $9. It was a low ticket funnel that was supposed to be a self liquidating offer and lead into her coaching programs and stuff, but it was not at all. It was a hot mess. And I went in and done this for a lot of clients where I fixed something. I'm sort of people refer to me as like the magic secret weapon to go in and fix what's broken. So I went in, I changed her copy, and she literally immediately got sales. I think we got 3 or 4 sales the first day, and she hadn't gotten that many sales in the previous like month or two. It was just nuts. I took over her ads too. So I started doing her ads, but really the main thing was changing the copy and immediately got sales, started getting sales to her high ticket offer for coaching. And that was like literally overnight.
Wow. Good for you and good for her.
Yeah, the power of words, it still blows my mind.
I know,
It
right?
really
Well,
does.
that's the deal. And it's the stories we tell. That's what people are listening to. It's not the features and benefits. It's the story.
Nope. And sometimes it's such little things. Like there was this one coach that did a launch, did like $45,000, which was way lower than what she wanted. Um, Only changes made to the sales page were left justifying the text instead of centered. That's one of my pet peeves. Centered text drives me crazy. It actually physically makes your brain read slower. So you'll have people get bored and hop off the page really, really fast because your brain has to work really, really hard to read centered text instead of left justified. So left justified the
Really
text
interesting.
and changed learn and teach to discover and show. And 30 days later, she relaunched and did 450,000. Didn't
Wow.
change anything else. Just those two things. That
Wow.
is the power of marketing. Yep.
Wow. I tell you what, Don, I think you just answered my last question with that. So I think, I mean, like, this was fantastic. I learned so much from you today, and I want you to stay on the call or stay on the on with me after this podcast is over, because I want to talk to you about helping me.
Awesome.
Um,
I'd be happy to.
yeah, because I mean, we all need help from somebody like you. I mean, you have such a great personality. You're so genuine. I love your where you came from, your experience, and what you've done. And you've been doing it for a good long time, and you've been very successful at it. So, how would somebody go to your website? Is that how they get in touch with you, or how would somebody get in touch with you if they're looking for copyright help?
On LinkedIn or Instagram as Dawn Copy Queen. So if you type that into the search in either of those, wherever you play the most, I'd love to connect, even if
That
you
is
just
great,
have
Dawn, the copy queen.
the
Everybody,
Copy Queen.
that's great that you've got that. Good job.
Yeah, I was kind of
Okay,
surprised, but there's not many women in the copy world. It's a bunch of men.
I know, right?
So yeah,
And we don't know what we're doing.
yeah, no, that's not entirely true. Lots of successful men I've learned from.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing, I should say, when it comes to that. I've tried, but I'm not that good. So that's why I have other people to do it that are much better than me. And that's what everybody should do. Don't try to do this yourself unless you're really good at it. Just, hire Dawn, the copy
Exactly.
queen.
There you go.
Okay,
I'll do
Dawn,
it
it's
for you.
been great having you on the world of marketing.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to have you back here in a couple, maybe in a few months to see how things go with us as we work together. Okay, everybody.
Sounds
So you
good.
hear that? You heard that right now. I'm going to hire her to help
There you
me.
go.
So there, it's locked in stone. Okay. Well, Don, thank you so much for being on the world of marketing. Everybody, Tom and
Yeah.
Don, we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.